speaking of that game, Falcons offensive coordinator Kyle Shanahan was asked about some of the criticism the Patriots have received despite boasting the league's top-scoring defense this season, giving up only 15.6 points per game.
It's the best defense that we've seen in the NFL this year. The numbers show it, and watch the film and you see exactly why their numbers the way they are. They are extremely tough to score against. That's why they're number one in the NFL. I believe only one game this year someone scored 30 points. They have very good players all around, players that are interchangeable, that can be pass rushers, that can be linebackers, that can be corners, that can be safeties, and they have an extremely good scheme. So it's by far the biggest challenge we've had this year.
And look who's here to weigh in on this subject. We welcome Donovan McNabb to the show. Donovan, how we doing?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Good. It's good to see you, but I'm actually going to start with Max on this one. Max, do you think the Patriots' D is as good as Shanahan says?
Yes, especially right now. You know, it's not just he brought up the kind of versatile type of players they have and flexible schemes. I mean, one of the difficulties in playing the Patriots is who do you prepare for, offensively and defensively? Who do you prepare for? They're a different team week to week because they're preparing for you. They're adapting to what you do and taking stuff away that you do. Difficult to anticipate precisely who they'll be, or at least look at film and game film and say, okay, we're playing that team. No, that's going to be a new team. That's part of it. And part of it's talent, sure, and the coaches putting them in the right position. But a big part of it's also they're healthy. The Patriots' defense, when you look at it, is a mostly healthy defense right now. And this time of year, so it's not just they've been good all season. It's that they've won the war of attrition with the season compared to other teams. One of the reasons, one of the many reasons, they're in the Super Bowl. They're a healthy defense right now. Show me a healthy defense this time of year, and I'll show you a good one. And in addition to that, they're a good one. I think Shanahan's right.
Well, listen, the Patriots...
Let me add it.
Go ahead, Donovan. Go ahead, Donovan. Go ahead.
You know, the thing about it, you're absolutely right, is they're healthy. But the most important thing about this football team is they're a sound defense. They're bend but don't break, and that's what has made them successful over the years, going back to all the way when Teddy Bruschi was the linebacker for them. When you're playing against this defense, you have to play mistake-free football. That means up front you have to block your guys and keep a body on a body. And for running backs, continue to protect the football, get as many yards as you can. And in the passing game, take what the defense gives you. A lot of times quarterbacks that play against this particular defense, they try to take shots. We go back to the Ben Roethlisberger game where he tried to throw the ball downfield to Hayward Bay, end up being behind him for an interception, tip balls, you know, things of that nature when he played against the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoff game. You know, Alex Smith and Travis Kelce did not connect on about two or three passes there, and which led them to punting the football or kicking field goals. Against this particular defense, what Kyle Shanahan is talking about is when you play against this defense, you have to be at the right place at the right time and be able to make the play that's there to be made. So what he's saying is absolutely right, but for me being a quarterback, I look at Matt Ryan and I say, Matt Ryan, you've been playing flawless football over the last 9 weeks. Everything that we've seen from you has been the MVP-type calendar. Don't try to change things just because you're in a Super Bowl by trying to take shots downfield. If you have Sanu that's open at 6 yards, take them. If your running backs, Freeman, and also for Coleman, if they're in the flat, take them. Don't try to hold the football to create a bigger play than what's really there, because methodically you have to move the football downfield, and that's when teams have been successful versus this defense.
Well, see, for me, it all comes down to this. I mean, I think Julio Jones is the kind of guy that's going to get his. I'm not sure about Gabriel or Mohamed Sanu, even though they can make some noise. The key to me is Coleman and Devontae Freeman. I mean, what they can bring to the table, catching passes out of the backfield. Do the New England Patriots have linebackers or safeties that can cover these guys? I think that's a huge question mark, and I think that's the kind of thing that you have to monitor, because the beauty of Sanu with Julio Jones and Gabriel is that you're going to have to defend these guys. You can't take any of them for granted. So that's going to really open things up for those backs out of the backfield to catch some short passes, some screens and things of that nature. Plus, it's going to take some of the pressure off of Matt Ryan, who's not going to have to drop back and pass ad nauseum to subject himself to some hits that the Patriots are fully capable of providing against him. So I think you monitor it and you respect New England's defense in that regard. But The question is, have we really seen New England tested this season to this degree? The answer would happen to be no. The two best quarterbacks they've gone against thus far is Tyrod Taylor and Russell Wilson this season. They really haven't gone against much else. When they played against Pittsburgh, even though they destroyed Pittsburgh in the AFC Championship game, during the regular season, they had to go against Landry Jones. And so as a result, they didn't really get tested during the regular season. They're going to get tested in the Super Bowl. It's going to be something new to them, unless you take into account the experience of Bill Belichick, which obviously goes a long way.
You know, Donovan, I want to respond to what you said. I totally agree with that about the Patriots. I would describe it as a quicksand defense. The more you struggle, the quicker you sink. And what highlights that and the way they take advantage of that is their offense is the opposite. This is Tom Brady's greatness as much as anything else. If it's not there, throw it away. I mean, not only does he get rid of the ball quickly, but he'll get rid of the ball quickly just to throw it away. They never force anything. So while they're just playing the odds constantly, the other team starts to feel desperate and struggles faster and sinks quicker.
Right. And to add to your point, you know, one question that a lot of people have raised about the New England Patriots is, why were they so successful versus the Pittsburgh Steelers? Because they played zone defense. If you play man defense versus the New England Patriots minus Gronkowski, you have a better opportunity to jam the wide receivers, throw off the timing of the passing game, and possibly bring more than they can handle in the blitz. Now, it's the direct opposite versus with the Atlanta Falcons. You do not want to play them man-to-man, because who are you going to put man-to-man on Julio Jones? You want to put Malcolm Butler with no safety over the top against Julio Jones? I really would not do that, because it wouldn't go in your favor. So what they're going to do is they're going to play a little bit of zone. They're going to have a safety over the top of Malcolm Butler. They're going to have Ryan on Sanu.
Hold on that, because we want to get into that and share some sounds on that Julio Jones subject that you just brought up. And I know, Stephen A., you had praised him on your final take for him staying out of the headlines for the wrong reasons, but he definitely made a case for best wide receiver in the NFL in the NFC Championship game, and he's not concerned about going up against the Patriots defense, who is #1 in points allowed. Here he is.
They mix up a lot of things, who they're going to take away and what they're going to do in the game. So we don't know what they're going to do, but we got to be prepared for any and everything they throw at us. You know, team's been double covering me, you know, throughout the year. Over the years, actually. So for me, it's just a normal game to me. I'm preparing. I'm going to get ready, you know, like any other week. And just go out there and, you know, and we're going to go out there and ball.
All right, so we all know Malcolm Butler's made big plays in Super Bowls before. Donovan, we'll come back to you now. Can New England stop Julio?
Yeah, well, they can't stop him. They can neutralize him a little bit. And I say this because, you know, you go back to the Super Bowl in which they won against the Seattle Seahawks. What they did was they'll double team when you have a top corner, which I'm not going to put Butler in the category of a Darrelle Revis. But if you have a top corner, you can double team the #2 receiver, that being Sanu, by having a safety over the top. Then you take away the #1 receiver by having someone underneath, and then also your top corner being over the top. So for me, when I look at this matchup, I know that we love what Julio Jones been able to do, and I'm a big fan of Julio Jones. Can you take away Julio Jones throughout the whole game? Absolutely not. He's going to come out of the game with 6 or 7 catches, something that we didn't see with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So now who's going to be elevated in the offense? That's going to be Freeman and Coleman, because the matchup versus the safeties and the linebackers work in the favor of the Atlanta Falcons because of what they like to do. They like to move Matt Ryan outside the pocket a little bit and get the receivers going downfield. So now underneath, you're looking at the running backs and the tight ends to be a security blanket for Matt Ryan. And if you try to take that away, that's when they go over the top for 18 to 25-yard reception from Julio Jones and also Sanu.
Well, let's pay attention to something. There can only be 11 dudes on the field at the same time. And when you know, at some point in time, cats going to have to man up. And the question is, do you have the confidence that they can pull that off? When I think about Julio Jones and what he said, I love his attitude, because here's the deal. He's big time. He's your #1 primary receiver. And what he's saying is, this is nothing new. What I'm going to go through on Super Bowl Sunday is what I go through every day. So it's really not a question about what Julio Jones can do or what Julio Jones is going to do if the opportunity presents itself. The question is, are the other dudes going to step up? And when you think about the other dudes stepping up, because this stage is so big, could it potentially be too big for them? That remains to be seen. Here's what we know about New England. Let me just give you the personnel, just some of the personnel in their secondary. Hightower, has he been there before? Yep. How about Malcolm Butler? Yep. How about Logan Ryan? Maybe not so much, But what about Devin McCourty? What about Patrick Chung?
Yeah.
When you look at guys like that, these are names that are familiar. These are names that have been here before. These are names that know what it takes to get it done. And so when I think about it from that perspective, it just comes down to that for me. It's an experience issue against an inexperienced but very talented issue. And whatever way you want to go with it, you just have to pay attention to the personnel that New England has, which is why it makes sense, Max, while Kyle Shanahan said the things that he said, because you got to worry about these boys' experience coming to shine through.
The question is, can you stop Julio Jones, basically? And, you know, what's the cliche? You can't stop him, and the people don't use it as much anymore. You can only hope to contain him, right? Put a safety over the top, whatever. Donovan, like, you need to devote extra resources to Julio Jones, or he will kill you. And then it comes down to, can the other guys get open, right? Especially if there's extra attention on Julio Jones. To tell you the truth, the success of the Falcons' offense, to me, is a lot about the fact that they have athletes who can beat their man one-on-one. They can get open. So you got guys open all over the field, and Matt Ryan recognizes that quickly, gets the ball to them quickly and on their steps. Now, if the question is, can you take away the number one thing they do? Yes, Bill Belichick, you can't stop him again, but Bill Belichick can scheme in a way, and they have players that Stephen A. just pointed out in a way, but with the experience and the talent, where you can make Julio Jones, you can diminish him. He can be something, the Patriots will turn him into something possibly less than his best self. But in order to do that, they are going to leave an offense that is used to beating their man to man, used to getting open. You're going to give them an even better chance to do it. And so Sanu and Gabriel, and you mentioned Freeman, obviously, and Coleman, who are already athletic and good and able to do that sort of thing, will now be able to do it a little bit more on the biggest stage. And then it comes down to, you know, can they hold on to the ball? And based on what I've seen this season, I think the answer is yes there, too.
You know what, let me add to that as well, Max. You know, one thing about Bill Belichick is he won't allow your top guy to beat you. And I say that because he's not worried about if Julio Jones comes out of the game with 6 to 8 or 10 catches in the game, but it makes sure he eliminates those explosive plays. Those plays that we've seen versus the Green Bay Packers, catching an 18-yard route and taking it for about 45 yards, and then also going over the top of the defensive back and then catching that back shoulder throw in the end zone. Those are things that he will eliminate playing against this Atlanta Falcons defense. Yeah, you can catch a 6-yard route. You can catch a 12-yard route and run out of bounds. That's not something Bill Belichick is worried about. But what he is doing, he's putting you in a position to make Sanu, make Gabriel, make Devontae Freeman, and also Coleman. Make those guys win the game for you. And then that means if Matt Ryan forces the ball to a guy like Julio Jones, that works in the favor of the New England Patriots, and that's working into the hands of Bill Belichick. He plays a chess game with a lot of these different coaches, the offensive coordinator, the head coaches. If you go back to that Super Bowl against the Seattle Seahawks, what he did to Pete Carroll by just staring at him because Pete thought he was going to call a timeout toward the end of the game in the red zone, and he allowed him to score. If you're going to score, score. If not, then we get the ball back and we win. And what happened? He sat there, played the chess game, Malcolm Butler with the interception. New England wins the Super Bowl.
And you know what that tells me too, Donovan? That the coaching philosophy and the quarterback have to have faith in their second and third and fourth options. Because I think about the second Giants Super Bowl victory against the Patriots. And, you know, on the Super Bowl video later, which is a Giants fan, of course, I ran out and got, you can hear Belichick saying, don't let Cruz beat you. Make Manningham beat you. He actually said that.
Right.
And sure enough, Eli Manning and Tom Coughlin had faith, had confidence in Manningham, and it won them the Super Bowl. So it may come down to the same sort of thing. Matt Ryan believing that Gabriel can beat them and getting him the ball.
I don't think there's a maybe about it. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I think Julio Jones is going to get his. I don't think he's going to have a monster game, but I think he's going to have a big enough game where you're going to know that he's a threat because, again, he could just make plays and he can make things happen. But I think ultimately it's going to come down to one of those situations where even though Coleman and Freeman may be keys coming out of the backfield, just like I said, you know, you've got a situation where Bill Belichick may be able to key on them too while he's keying on Julio Jones. That's going to make Mohamed Sanu and or Gabriel key components in all of this based on what y'all saying, whether it's a Mario Manningham, whether it's a Plexico Burris catching the winning touchdown, whatever the case may be. Julio Jones is going to have his moments, but somebody else is going to have to step up to deliver the goods for Atlanta.